Meritox Relationships presents When Taking Care of Yourself Turns into an Obsession. We left the loud gurus of self-development and entered a gentler age, the age of self-care. No more grand promises or spiritual quests, just the sensible idea that we should take care of ourselves. The phrase feels balanced, modern, almost moral, but behind its calm tone lies the same logic as before, centering everything on the self under the banner of protection. Self-care isn't wrong. Rest, boundaries, breathing, all good things. The trouble begins when these acts turn into a constant defense system. We move from care to control, from rest to withdrawal. A woman says she doesn't want to force herself anymore. In truth, she avoids anything that disturbs her. A man prides himself on learning to say no. He never says yes again. What they call balance is often fear, elevated into a lifestyle. Fear of exhaustion, of demands, of dependence. This new morality of wellness hides in plain sight. It becomes a daily ethic. Eat clean, listen to your body, cut toxic energies. Behind it all, one idea. You are your own center, your own savior. The world outside becomes a threat to manage. It's a kind of self-ecology. Everything that costs me must be removed. Even relationships are sorted like groceries. This one nourishes me, that one drains me. Love itself is reduced to emotional dietetics. Self-care grew out of real fatigue, overwork, pressure, noise. But instead of grounding us, it detaches us. We replace struggle with distance. We no longer face limits, we curate them. Courage has given way to comfort. Growth has been replaced by preservation. We want peace before truth, harmony before fruitfulness. It's a wisdom that soothes but doesn't elevate. Watch how we live. The smallest discomfort now triggers alarm. This conversation doesn't feel right for me. We avoid demanding friendships, long commitments, deep talks. Anything that pulls us out of ourselves seems toxic. Even love is seen as a threat. I want a healthy relationship, people say, meaning a painless one. Health in this context means no friction. Comfort renamed a virtue. Modern self-care wears kindness but fears tragedy. We no longer want to be wounded. We want smooth, predictable lives. But a life that never wounds no longer touches anything. In avoiding pain, we lose joy. In avoiding mess, we lose vitality. That's the paradox of wellness. It claims to strengthen us, yet it softens us. A friend says she's done with negative people. She stops calling her complaining sister, ignores demanding co-workers, and calls it liberation. In truth, she's surrounded herself with mirrors. Her world is tidy and barren. Life isn't a food to cure. It's raw, mixed, sometimes uncomfortable. Strength doesn't come from isolation, but from learning to stand inside the storm without bitterness. Self-care often begins as a good need that turns against itself. We wanted to breathe. We ended up cutting off air. We wanted meaning. We built another routine. Where old wisdom said, renounce yourself to love. Our time says, renounce others to protect yourself. The word changed, not the ego. This polite withdrawal makes the world smaller. It shrinks the soul under the pretext of safety. We think we're preserving dignity. We're erasing depth. A human being rebuilds, not by closing off, but by re-entering life. With its friction, slowness, disagreement. True self-care isn't avoiding fatigue. It's regaining the strength to love despite it. Let it be said plainly, any self-attention that doesn't lead back to others is narcissistic. The body we listen to must serve presence, not worship. The silence we keep must prepare speech, not avoid it. The rest we take must restore availability, not self-absorption. Self-care is only legitimate when it reconnects. Otherwise, it's just an elegant escape. We've learned to cut ties in the name of self-respect. It's time to respect ourselves enough to nourish them instead. Caring for yourself only makes sense when it helps you care again. Once self-care becomes a rule of life, the next step comes naturally. We begin avoiding anything that disturbs us. Comfort turns into a moral norm. We can no longer bear constraint, waiting, or contradiction. The modern ideal is no longer freedom, but softness. The slightest discomfort feels like a failure, as if life were meant to unfold without friction. Yet it's in discomfort that a person takes shape. It's through effort that one grows. Constant comfort, on the other hand, dulls everything. Thought, desire, gratitude. Look at our days. Everything is designed so that nothing weighs on us. Adjustable seats, precise heating, curated music, filtered notifications. We can't tolerate hunger, cold, or even boredom. Existence has become a management of sensations. We call it well-being, but it's a slow anesthesia. The smallest inconvenience feels unbearable, as if any tension were an act of aggression. We have replaced inner strength with external comfort and deep peace trap of comfort is that it presents itself as a right. We no longer talk about progress but about protection. I deserve to feel good. This phrase, repeated everywhere, hides a drift. It turns well-being into an absolute demand. Modern man no longer aspires to truth or justice, but to quiet. He wants a life without surprises, relationships without friction, emotions always under control. It's a polished existence, smooth, pleasant, harmless, where nothing hurts but nothing awakens. In relationships, this logic does real damage. The moment a bond becomes difficult, we speak of toxicity or bad energy. We think we're protecting ourselves by leaving, when we're actually fleeing the work of love. Emotional comfort becomes the filter. I'll stay as long as I feel good. But love never promised that. It requires facing disorder, fatigue, and clumsy moments. Our age confuses fatigue with failure, demand with violence. So we leave before we understand. At work, comfort hides behind new words: balance, flexibility, kindness. We no longer talk about vocation or service, but about fulfillment. When the task gets tough, we switch jobs, rhythms, projects. We can't stand duration anymore. Yet mastery only comes through duration, and creativity is born from constraint. Any craftsman knows it. Without resistance, the gesture collapses. Effort isn't punishment, is the law of reality. Avoiding it means refusing to grow. Education has followed the same slope. Children are raised to be spared, not formed. We confuse protection with affection. We don't want them to hit any obstacles, so we flatten everything. The result is fragile youth, collapsing at the first setback. We've passed on our fear of hardship. We've deprived them of the courage that only comes from facing the real. Constant comfort also weakens the soul. When everything is within reach, nothing has weight. Pleasure loses flavor because it's no longer earned. Gratitude fades because there's no waiting. Even joy turns soft. It doesn't spring up, it's consumed. We want everything instantly without cost or risk. It's the click logic applied to life, and it always ends in weariness. What costs nothing ends up meaning nothing. Comfort deceives because it imitates peace, but peace isn't the absence of tension. It's the balance between what we give and what we receive. Comfort breaks that balance and makes us perpetual takers. We wait for life to serve us without ever engaging in it. That's how people fade, not from lack of pleasure, but from excessive ease. Man says, I want a simple life. He thinks he means a true life, but often he means a life without resistance. He wants the simplicity of decor, not of heart. Real simplicity comes from having faced complexity without running away. It isn't given, it's earned. Comfort avoids that word. It makes us believe we live better because we suffer less, when in fact we live less because we risk nothing. The person who no longer wants to be disturbed ends up no longer alive. He calls it peace, but it's stillness he's defending. He calls it happiness, but it's the absence of challenge he's chasing. Life moves through effort, friction, and unexpected encounters. To smooth it out is to drain it. Constant comfort isn't a luxury. It's a prison lined with cushions. Maturity begins when we understand that comfort isn't an ideal, but a pause between two commitments. We should rest in it, not settle in it. Rest, yes. Numbness, no. Life isn't meant to be gentle. It's meant to be fruitful. And nothing living is born from the soft, the lukewarm, or the idle. When self-care becomes the measure of everything, life loses direction. After the era of self-development and that of comfort, the next step is to find the center again, to understand that caring for yourself only makes sense if it helps you serve. The goal isn't self-erasure or self-obsession, but maintenance for the sake of endurance. Self-care, in its truest form, isn't withdrawal from the world, it's preparation for generosity. True care restores right effort, not the kind that exhausts, but the kind that keeps life awake. Sleeping well, eating properly, praying, walking, knowing when to stay silent and when to speak. These ordinary acts are not about comfort but availability. A body cared for becomes an instrument of fidelity. A rested mind can listen and discern. A nourished heart can give without fear. We've long believed the choice was between self and others. It isn't. One serves well only when one stands on firm ground. A burned-out doctor heals poorly. A tired mother grows irritable. A drained leader inspires no one. Lasting generosity requires a source, but not one to be worshipped. It exists to flow outward. Balance means receiving in order to give, not to store. What we keep stagnates. What we share circulates. Fatigue is not the enemy. It's the sign of real expenditure. It becomes harmful only when it leads nowhere. The one who gives without remembering why burns out, The one who renews himself to give again grows stronger. Adulthood eventually learns this. Joy is not found in rest, but in meaning. A single act that serves is worth more than an hour of empty relaxation. Pleasure is light, service has depth. We must also choose what we maintain. We take care of our routines, our diets, our moods, but do we take care of our relationships, our words, our commitments? We wash our bodies, yet let our bonds decay. We plan our weeks, but not our loyalties. To regain balance is to reorder priorities. First, what keeps others alive through us. The rest follows. Real love doesn't abolish self-care, it transforms it. It shifts from protection to responsibility. It no longer says, I need to feel good, but I want to do good well. That change of focus alters everything. Resting, learning, staying healthy, no longer aim to avoid pain, but to sustain the strength to give. Then, self-care becomes an act of love, not self-absorption. Look at those who endure. Faithful parents, patient caregivers, devoted craftsmen. They know fatigue, but they also know the quiet joy of having served. Their balance isn't a state of comfort, but a rhythm between commitments. They renew themselves, then return to the work. This back and forth between giving and maintaining is the law of any fruitful life. When it breaks, we dry up. When it flows, we expand. Life doesn't need to be easy to be good. It needs purpose. To serve is to respond to a call greater than oneself. To care for yourself is to make yourself able to answer it for a long time. That tension, preserving yourself in order to give, is not a conflict. It is maturity itself. Once we grasp that, we stop seeking balance as a state and live it as movement. True self-care is never narcissistic. It is preparation for love. It doesn't aim for private peace, but for fruitfulness through us. It's the responsibility of anyone who wants to last in life. Nothing is impossible for those who choose to.